Of course, following a directive from His Majesty's government, the country instituted several lockdowns, and the University of Eswatini closed on the 17th March 2020 in sync with government measures to prevent the spread of the disease. The university government suspended all teaching and learning activities. The COVID-19 pandemic evidently caught us ill-prepared with respect to delivery of our academic programs. Although we had at the time already an active learning management system, which is known as Moodle, at the onset of COVID-19, only a third of our staff members had undergone basic training on blended learning, and of course on the use of Moodle. It was clear that we could not transition quickly to online mode of delivery for at least part of our programs, as it happened in other universities. However, indeed it was heartening to note that some of our staff members were innovative and were already actively using the learning management system Moodle and other online platforms. Education systems around the world are facing an unprecedented challenge in the wake of massive school closures mandated as part of public health efforts to maintain and contain the spread of COVID-19. 68.5% of the world's student population is affected by school closures. 1.19 billion learners worldwide are out of school, and 153 countries are affected by school closures. Government agencies are working with international organizations, private sector partners, and civil society to deliver education remotely through a mix of technologies in order to ensure continuity of curriculum-based study and learning for all. These strategies are guided by a concern for equity and inclusion and the need to ensure the design and delivery of distance learning do not exacerbate existing educational and social inequalities. Beyond the response to the current crisis, the efforts to deploy distance learning at scale across all levels of education provides valuable lessons and will lay foundation for longer-term goals of building more open, inclusive, and flexible education systems after the COVID-19 pandemic has passed. The University of Eswatini was not spared from the effects of the pandemic. The university had to act quickly to adapt its teaching methods from face-to-face to online mode of delivery of instruction, which of course had its own challenges as our students didn't have the necessary gadgets and data bundles to access online teaching materials. 50% of the student population do not have the basic requirement for online learning, which is a laptop, and the majority of the students are underprivileged and cannot afford these gadgets. Program Director, in this regard, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to UNDP, who partnered with UNESCO through the Accelerator Lab to produce an application for digitizing learning materials for online learning purposes in the wake of COVID-19. A special appreciation also goes to the agency for supporting UNESCO 7,839 students with 3 gigabytes data for accessing the MTN zero-rated UNESCO e-learning sites during the lockdown. It was a huge relief in that students are now able to access learning materials from the learning management system, and studying is continuing with minimal disruption. I would also like to congratulate the Faculty of Science and Engineering that has managed to get support from UNDP to develop an experiment on the digital learning platform, also funded through the Accelerator Lab. The experiment is aimed at exploring the use of app-based technologies for delivering content and supporting students in the learning process with the aim of increasing access and reduction in the cost of tertiary education. Digital learning is now a mainstream in the education sector in general. Of course, the main aim of this project is to create a critical mass of skilled students that can help the university in digital revolution. It is hoped that these developments will assist the university to achieve its objectives of expanding access to a wider majority of students, not only within the country, but to the wider community of SADC. The university also hopes to adopt several learning technologies that are available within the digital space, which will allow students and lecturers to communicate remotely. These technologies include video conferencing, telenetworking known as live streaming, 3D printing, augmented virtual reality, and also gamification, interactive whiteboards. And may God bless you, and may we pray for a breakthrough in vaccine development so that we could be saved from this disease as we celebrate the 75th year of the United Nations. With these words, I thank you.
Good morning to all of you, and thank you very much, Madam Moderator, for your kind words, for having me. Good morning, Vice Chancellor. Always a pleasure to see you. I said last time that every time that I am in your presence, I am at university. It makes me feel younger. So we should spend more time together, definitely. That's the cure against wrinkles or anything else. Thank you very much. More seriously, my speech will be along three main points. One is indeed to clarify the UN at 75. The second one is to emphasize the SDGs, which are actually at the core of not only the discussion of today, but what the UN in Eswatini is doing. And we will speak in particular of SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 9 here, which is on industry, industrialization, and also innovation infrastructure. I think these are the 2 points, and then maybe I will also emphasize as we speak, obviously put all this in the context of COVID-19. What is happening, not so much the figures, but how in keeping this promise in mind, we will actually recover better from the pandemic and we will build a better nation. So I will start, Vice Chancellor of the University of Eswatini, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I join you today on behalf of the UN Development System in Eswatini. In total, we have 16 agencies. We have 8 of them in Eswatini and 8 of them in South Africa, but which have programs and activities in Eswatini. So it is with pleasure that I join you on their behalf ahead of this very important engagement to discuss the role of digital technology in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular SDG 4, on quality education, which is the focus of our discussion today. Coincidentally, the SDG in focus for the month of July, we are still in July, is SDG 9, which calls upon nations, including Eswatini, to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and focus or foster innovation. Every month, the UN spotlights one of the 17 SDGs, highlighting its purpose, targets, and criticality in advancing Agenda 2030. We partner with the UN with local newspapers to issue every month an op-ed that is actually highlighting that SDG. So this month's focus is SDG 9. This year, the UN is marking its 75th anniversary at a time of great disruption in the world, compounded by an unprecedented global health crisis with severe economic and social impact, in light of ensuring that no one is left behind. Knowledge and information have brought transformative change in our existence, and they are the key drivers behind the implementation of the SDGs. Agenda 2030 recognizes the need to develop knowledge societies where everyone learns and engages with others, which highlights the need for access to ICT, information communication technology. The reality, unfortunately, is that in many places, people and communities still cannot access neither computers nor internet. While more people can get online today, access to the internet still largely depends on where they live. The digital divide between developed and developing countries shows significant differences in terms of the access to internet. The percentage of people connected in sub-Saharan Africa, for example, is estimated to be 35% only. 35% people who are connected, compared to about 90% in the most developed countries. This is the divide between developed and developing countries. For many, particularly those in developing regions, the spread of smart mobile devices has brought access to internet. While internet has already changed the world, major challenges still lie ahead, and internet history has just begun, as COVID-19 demonstrates. Indeed, digital technology has become a critical tool and an enabler during the COVID